Whether our physical bodies are denied freedom, our imagination is not. As we selected works and talked about which works would come together, we kept that freedom in mind, kept the freedom of imagination.
This is very much a spiritual convening, and I love hearing that language from those who come to see and feel the exhibition. And as Zsudayka has shared earlier, there's a rich history that the three of us representing different organizations and artists in our own right are inheriting and have the great responsibility to steward thereafter. I joined here in January, and it was important for me to start my curatorial legacy in this organization to pay homage to the elders and ancestors who used this space as a seat of creativity before myself. And I really have to acknowledge Aziza Gibson Hunter here, and that Aziza, who shared with me the rich history of the building, and that from 1985 to 1998, it was ran and organized by artist couple Harley Little and Juliet Madison, who truly did steward and take care of this space as a bed of great Black creativity.
Harley Little and Juliet started the space as a photography studio and an art studio, but it drew like a magnet artists, dancers, writers, all that were either coming to get photographed or coming with those individuals. And in that there was exchange. And the Black Artists of DC, which was co-founded by none other than Aziza Claudia Gibson Hunter, who we spoke about earlier in 1999, as I experienced it, it was, you know, a university unto itself, where artists of all ages and levels of skill and technique came together for mentorship or to mentor others. And of the many mentors that I want to speak on, you know, Aziza Gibson Hunter was one, Michael Platt and Harley Little was another, but someone that I think was very often unspoken and extremely modest is Ms. Carol Beane. And I always, always looked up to you.
This is an exhibition that was made, as Malik shared earlier, to highlight the history of this space and how this space was built. In early May, I think it was May, we got on a call with Juliet Madison, and she shared with us what it was when they discovered this space, which was an abandoned Nabisco horse stable. And it had no electricity, it had one sink. And she talked about how they would park their cars and turn their headlights on, and they built a 40-foot cyclorama photography space by hand into here, which gave opportunity for photographers and artists who could not otherwise access that level of professional equipment, the opportunity to shoot their work and to build with other artists and to network with other artists. This is literally the foundation, one of the foundations of the Black art scene in DC and of the art scene in DC. She shared with us what the journey was like for her to give up her art career and work to support the space and support their family and support his dream and his gift of bringing artists together and bringing artists into a space. And she shared with us the heartbreak of when they found out that they had lost the space and what it was like to be basically gentrified out of the community and what it is like to put your blood, sweat, and tears into something that builds so many other people and then lose it and see it thrive in other ways that no longer include you. And so when we were selecting the work and when the work was being installed, this is a spiritual space. And this exhibit or this event, I wanted to give reference to something that's said in the film, and I hope you guys got a chance to see the film. I was always here. And I think that is a theme that resonates often in our spaces. We create these spaces and they may evolve beyond us, but we were always here. And so as this space is reawakened. We want to reawaken with the spirit of the ancestors who came before us. We want to acknowledge that we stand on their shoulders, that we shoulder the deed of what this space means. And so these performances tonight are for our ancestors. And several of the artists that are in this exhibition have transitioned. Mr. Platt has transitioned, Mr. Little has transitioned. And so we want to give honor and we want to give glory to their spirits. Our first poet of the evening is BABC Executive Board Member and multidisciplinary artist, Daniel Brookings.
Seeing two old men walking down the street, comfortable in their familiarity, I begin to feel my own mortality. I've seen them in Ghana, Brazil, Europe, and Washington, D.C. Friends for life. A man without a friend is truly alone. Even family cannot replace that loss. I ask other men if they feel this void, this isolation, and each was surprised that he is not the only one. We have all lost, and we grieve. Sometimes, driving alone or in a quiet mood, we cry for our lost buddies. No one sees us, no one hears us, no one knows. I've been in the arts in Washington, D.C. for over 50 years. As a poet and writer with D.C. Black Writers, as an actor with Encore Theater Company of Washington, D.C. We represented the United States in the Toyama Theater Festival in Japan. And that's a whole nother story. And as an instructor in Operation Heritage with Georgette Powell. However, even then, I felt I was not operating at my full potential. I joined Black Artists of DC in 2005. Being around so many other artists, my creativity juices began to flow. I'll never forget Michael Platt saying, "A cook is an artist, the medium is food." To me, creativity is an art form. A few years later, I received an invitation to exhibit in a small gallery in Paris, France. I wanted my prints to be larger, so I asked Harley Little if he would print the images for me. We met every day at his studio. We talked about what it meant to be male, particularly a Black male. We spoke about our challenges, our family, and our goals in life. We laughed and reminisced about growing up, about our fathers and the challenges they faced. As the days passed, our friendship grew. Friendship is sacred to me. I have lost many male friends in the past few years, men I respected. Some I knew since the 7th grade at Douglas Junior High School in Anacostia. One day I opened an email and read, "Hey man, how the hell are you?" It was from a friend I had not seen in 50 years. We were able to meet and renew our friendship. My art journey has taken me to many places. Daniel Henry Brookings was my father and my first art instructor. He didn't fit the romantic image of an artist. He wasn't a bohemian, nor did he go around with pretentious airs. He drank hard and never turned away from a fight. He was bigger than life with a loud laugh, louder shirts, and a pocket full of jokes, most of them bawdy. He prized books and didn't understand why so many people refused to read. He had traveled throughout Asia during World War II and often told stories of the people he met and the art he saw. He was friendly, but he could tease you without mercy. If you couldn't take a joke, well then, screw you. He was all that, and yet he loved art and showed me how to see beauty, but not in an academic way. As a child, I was surrounded with oil paint, canvases, charcoal, pastel, and books, books, books. He sized his own canvases and used special formulas to prepare them for painting. From him, I learned an early appreciation of the native arts of Africa and Asia. He had visited the National Museum so often to study the paintings that when the Mona Lisa was shown there, he was permitted to go inside the ropes and make a copy. On the outside, he was just another roughneck with a bourbon bottle, a good old boy who was down for a good time. No one thought him soft because he was an artist. He was often plain-spoken and could be crude, yet he wrote the most beautiful love poetry for my mother. To him, beauty was obvious. No degree was needed. It was just there if you had the eyes to see. All you had to do was pull your head out of your No one expected his complexity, and few knew his drives. He was rough, but he would have had pride in his grandchildren, and they would have loved his rough charm, quick wit, and fierce devotion. He and I were often at odds with each other, but I knew I could count on my daddy, and he would move heaven and hell to protect me. I suppose sons try to compete with their fathers. It was a sort of source of great pride whenever he would look at my artwork and ask, "How did you do that?" Then ask me to teach him the technique. His innovative spirit is alive in me, and I have passed it on to my children. The art world has exploded into so many facets, with new techniques just over the horizon. With every new electronic marvel, grow, try them all, mix and match, the old with the new, to create your own form. Daniel Henry Brookings would have been right there with you. When I visited Ghana, it was wonderful to walk down the street and see faces of people you knew back home. That's when I realized that tribe meant family. We visited the door of no return, and that had a profound effect on us. In red robes, sitting before my mirrored image, seeing how it might have been, wearing the robes of my ancestors, reaching for a clouded past of unknown tongues and unnamed gods, reaching beyond color and light, beyond bold patterns, beyond to before the tearing confusion. In red robes, sitting here and being there, feeling there, here, screaming indignation here for life then and now, waiting to understand it all, sitting, wanting to relive the past, knowing black men of other times were reaching for me, finding rest within me, spirits of my people, surrounding and guiding me through self-made mistakes, burning away the veil and marking me as their own. In red robes, images chanting to me, touching me, leading me from bracelets into shackles into bracelets, from anxiety through slavery into war with my own, guiding me through damp sea smells and probing appraising hands. High and low they carry me in soiled red robes, bloody red robes, through violent death into violent life, to courtyards and compounds, to lowlands and old men wrapped in palm wine sweat. In red robes, stained with blood, my link with what came before. In these robes they found me, spirits of my people. From these robes I squeeze the blood of my fathers and sup upon it, that I may become enraged with their madness for freedom. Each fold a life, a story. Each stain a step in time relived. The blood of first and last, sweet and pungent images heightened with unlived memories and whispered legends crowd my mind. In red robes, where oozing welts touch, and time's teeth rip new designs, all for me, that I might come this far and still be whole. Thank you.
Put your hands together and welcome up our next poet, Khadijah Moon.
I want to do maybe a 60-second warm-up with the band to get my vocals right. Is that all right?
Very cool.
All right. So what I'm going to ask the audience, we're in this space, and if there are any words, any phrases that resonate with you being in this space, honoring the people who have come before us, honoring the people that are among us, if you can call out those words and call out those phrases while the band plays and while I vocalize and get myself together, then we will be co-creating some energy to get started. How's that sound? All right, let's do this. And you can begin feeding into the atmosphere some of your words, and I'll echo. Love, 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 love. If today is one of those days where you are 2 seconds off of cussing a motherfucker out or doing some ungodly desecration to your own sacred form, please, my dear, remember who you are. Remember the moments where you feel your softness and can touch the corners of your exhale. Dreaming in color, you are lightness and sun rays, no longer dependent on the gravity that has always seemed to anchor you within chaos. You have battled mountains mightier than this week's gazillion gallons of unaware white privilege and the misery of capitalist Hunger Games wearing the robes of a 9 to 5. Remember who you are. Chant your name in melodic staccato and touch your hands to your heart that continues to pound in rebellion against the weapon so often formed against it. Close your eyes and breathe easily the air that reminds your inquisitive brain to continue to power through and bless the world with all of its magnificent gifts. Remember who you are. You are the dancing flame spirit of hungry revolution seeking solace in the bosom and gifting you graciously with its eternal wisdom to fight the powers that be. You are the blueprints of your ancestors' vision and the keeper of your descendants' history, nestling your people's imprint into the fabric of your DNA. You are the peace, the joy, the blessing, the dance, the cheers, the laughs, the cries, and the wonder of all that has come before and all that has yet to be. Honor it with the fullness that it was entrusted. Protect it from the fragility of bad choices. Don't only know your worth, don't let others spend it without your permission, without your meticulous bookkeeping where you guard your savings with your life. Remember who you are, star. Remember who you are. Hey, hey. Remember who you are. What did we start with? We started with love, 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 remember who you are. job. Let's give it up for the band. Yes. So this is my coming out party in a way, because coming out from being a homeschooling mother 24/7, because my young person is now officially a college student. Yes. Her dad and I spent all last week moving her across the country to San Francisco, to the University of San Francisco, where she's a first-year student. Yeah, thank you. And I am jacked up. Because see, nobody told me that San Francisco was cold. Nobody told me. I had 3 layers of clothes and all the walking, the hills. And so I'm out of shape. So I am literally decrepit. I limped in here because I'm jacked up. But it is such a pleasure to be here. Now, being an artist where I don't have to, my daughter's not here. Come on, Mommy, how long we gonna be before we go? So this next piece is called A People's Poets. And visual artists I look at as being poets. You know, even if your words are through images, or your feelings and emotions and messages are through images. And so this piece was written specifically for this event. A people's poet may not be who you think. Ain't always smelling like incense and rocking locks, or pulling out of their bag their book of poems that they want you to cop for just $5. A poet of the people might not have a book. Might be your drunk Uncle Lou at the barbecue yelling out loud that it was goddamn wrong what they did when they shot that boy dead in the street like that. Might be your cousin Mickey off her meds, telling you about the time she seen God walking down 14th and U. A people's poet has life's gritty dirt between their fingers, the stain of disappointment and offense leaching into the underlaying of their soul skin. A third eye that is all the way open even when they sleep, interrupting their dreams that those with weaker spirits could never entertain. A people's poet spits lyrics with ragged edges and honest vowels that open portals to understanding that we can only feel and sometimes never touch. A people's poet conjures up the backdraft flickers of dead heroes through metaphor that is staple to your unconscious with rugged endurance, next to default memories of Saturday morning cartoons, Tang, Twinkies, and Michael Jackson's Jerry Curl. A people's poet never forgets. They remember Malcolm X and Assata Shakur and MLK and Dick Gregory and Marcus Garvey and Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer and the Soledad Brothers. They remember Move and Reaganomics and the Great Migration and when gas used to be less than $1 a gallon. They are unrespectable, unruly, and often inconvenient. They disrupt quiet with rage, shouting over the hurt that smothers out the drowning, vestiges of hope, and compels one to find comfort in all that is deadly, from drink to drugs to oversexing to compensate when there is no love. But a people's poet loves their people. A people's poet loves their people. A people's poet might not be who you think. Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? And so my last poem is called An Activist Prayer. I've noticed lately that a lot of the pieces that I write are sort of prayers, because I need them. I need them. Affirmations. And so this is my prayer for everyone in this space. Y'all want to jump in?
Let's see.
All right, let's see. What kind of energy? You got something dirty and powerful and I see those smiles behind the mask. They got something for me. Yeah, dirty. May we continue to breathe fire, siphon ether from the molecular until our cells live beyond the cellular and our energy is time's infinity. May we know not the temptation to quit, never halting our predisposition to endlessly want to fix and to recreate. Stand up, never satiate the powers that seek to destroy the very core of who we are. May we continue to shine like stars. Constellations in our concrete prisons, leading minds north to the horizon where the sky's sun is our salvation and unity is unified without uniformity. Casting off the chains of conformity, may we guide with knowledge, pinky fingered linked with compassion, evoking the prayers of our ancestors with agile action, falling back to allow our young ones to share the burden of this beast, telling our stories to ensure the continuation of this work at the very least. May we continue to breathe fire. May we continue to bring fire. May we continue to be fire. Blazing bright to burn down what is unjust. Becoming the flame is a must. Burn, baby. Burn, baby. Burn, baby, burn. May your light never extinguish.
Do you still do Droopy the Broke Baller? Guys, you said so Droopy the Broke Baller Anderson.
How y'all doing this evening? It's an honor and a pleasure to be here, and thank you to Zsudayka for inviting me, and thank you to Stable for having us. I'm very much interested in this whole idea of different types of art being in conversation with each other, because through Spoof School I teach parody and satire, and that's what that is. It's one piece of art, or one genre of art, inspiring a whole other. So, I'll get to Brother Baldwin in a minute, but for now I just wanted to start off a little smooth. Shoot your shot, she said, in that way that she had of making fuerte sound facile, su boca una botella with words for wine, refined in a fertile vineyard of her mind. Floral notes toward the front of her tongue, her very palate, a palate. The intonation of her tannins, a body of work with legs for days, leaving me sideways. The intoxicants of her interjections, the cuvee of her consonants, effervescently pressed into the vino of her vowels like A, E, I, O, U. Shoot your shot, she said, checking me to throw free while herself shooting three, cavalierly challenging me to have a ball, to rocket into her golden state, to play chef with her curry until it hardens into clay, to bring my thunder to just west of her brook, daring me to work my magic, to wish away the walls with the wizardry of my words, bucking me up to keep it grisly and nick her with my spurs, to bring the heat and blaze a trail as if my clip was full, to talk that jazz with hawkish sass, to jump, man, no bull. Shoot your shot. That's what she said. And so, I did. Give it up for the Eddie Anderson Project, y'all. Thank you. So if y'all didn't catch it, I started with a whole bunch of wine imagery, and then I went to a whole bunch of basketball puns. That's a blend right there, and I think it's only fitting since we're here blending poetry with visual art. So, to Brother Baldwin, one of the finest voices of a generation, sadly prescient as he was, speaking to themes that outlived him, unfortunately, themes of oppression, themes of disenfranchisement, themes of America with a capital KKK. And so I would be remiss to sit at the James Baldwin installation and not speak to something similar. So this is a piece that I wrote about how COVID particularly affected Black DC. It's called COVID-19, the 5 stages of grief. The first stage of grief is denial. So when COVID-19 first reared its ugly head, our leadership called it China's problem, as if pathogens were as nationalist as they asses is. And speaking of our leadership, we denied that they were ours, as if our not my president hashtags would vaccinate us from a nonpartisan nano menace which didn't distinguish between left or right wing or lung, as if voting no confidence in Captain Clueless would make us any less passengers aboard his soon-to-be crashing Titanic, heading straight toward the ice baby. We don't stop, collaborate, or listen. And when this old dirty ghost-faced killer infects our deck, as this Wuhan clan that's nothing to mess with brings us the ruckus to the 36 chambers, and the CDC tells us, wash your hands, protect yourself, put on your mask, show me social distancing. We'll look at them like they just said something mystical. And when they ask us what we doing, we'll say, ooh, nothing. Now the second stage of grief is anger. So when COVID-19 makes its stateside debut, our fearless leader will trump his earlier rhetoric, escalating from calling it China's issue to straight up Chinese flu. And when some journalists ask him about his earlier discounting of the potential danger of the epidemic turned pandemic, he asks, do you kiss your monarchs with that mouth? Why don't you take some bleach and wash it out? Meanwhile, the same president who, when pressured to prioritize people over paper, countered that the solution shouldn't be worse than the problem, will readily recommend untested and questionable quasi-COVID-19 medicines with potentially deadly side effects. But hey, I guess that would be one way to get past your infection, your death. Now see, I guess that's why they say when you're angry, you can't see straight, can't think straight, and it feels like it's killing you inside. The third stage of grief is bargaining. So let's make a deal. If I tell you that the most medically underserved wards in our nation's capital are in Southeast, and if I tell you that they have 2 of the most COVID-19 ravaged wards in DC are in Southeast with 1 hospital to share between, maybe you can tell me what kind of peeps coincidentally live in these streets. I'll give you a hint. Always bet on Black. Why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. But COVID-19 is eating Ward 7 and 8 alive. And I live in Ward 5. So give me 5 on the Black-hand side if you can tell me why, by what kind of providential design, the only hospital in my hood closed in 2019. After 158 years, the longest continually operating hospital in DC closed just in time. But that would be irony, and irony isn't one of the stages of grief. This one is depression. Imagine if too exhausted and too exasperated to think this is a battle we can win, I assume we've already lost. Assume the virus has already infected everyone I come across. And since I'm sharing these words during a Memorial Day weekend where I've already seen pictures of a crowded Ocean City, despite unprecedented COVID spikes in MD, assume the next memorial will be for we. And assuming I even live long enough to see something like a vaccine, excuse me if I decline, you see, Drew got to the point that he do not do flu shot because he be too Tuskegee, too trust easy. And it's not that I'm anti-vax, I just know what Henrietta lacks. And I know hella well how this country will take your black magic, bottle it up and sell it back to you as a cure that your black ass can't even afford. But see, the 5th and final stage of grief is acceptance. Accept the fact that we will never go back to normal. Accept the fact that that's not necessarily something to fear, because normal is necessarily what got us here. Accept that possibly, maybe, COVID can't be cured, because possibly, maybe, COVID is the cure. COVID. Capitalism only values infinite dollars. COVID. Cure our violently intolerant demeanor. COVID. Correct our viciously inequitable district. COVID. Courageously our voices inspire defiance. COVID. Change ourselves. Victory is destined. COVID. Come out. Virus is dead. Thank you. Appreciate that. Peace to Brother Baldwin. For this last piece, I'm gonna bring the band back and take y'all where I'm from. I'm gonna take y'all to New Orleans. You know, I'm co-author of this 2-man show called From Gumbo to Mumble, along with my brother Dwayne Lawson Brown. also known as a crochet kingpin. He's from Southeast DC, so he'd be the gumbo. He'd be the mumbo. And I'm from Uptown New Orleans, so I'll be the gumbo. So this is my part of the title piece for my play, Gumbo. See, my gumbo tastes second line sweat sweet. Project P-Popper potent, rich with po' boys and pecan candy. Good for your heart and good for a heart attack. Like strangers turn neighbors, turn instant family members. Just sprinkle in some soul. Anything less is just food. Now see, yo gumbo. Yo gumbo tastes like Bourbon Street curfews. All wafer thin, watered down and whitewashed. Like funk-free yet funky tourist tuna fish swimming with gentilly gentry. Like post-Katrina carpetbagging colonizers moving just off poitras, expecting it to be noiseless. But see, my gumbo tastes like swamp stew. Like rooting for LSU. Like no more excuses. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Playoffs? Playoffs? Baby, we lucky to win the game. I see my gumbo tastes like saying, who that said they gonna beat them Saints? I say my gumbo tastes like saying the same thing with a paper bag over your face. Like a celebration of shame. Like they may be some bums, but they my bums, baby. I say my gumbo tastes like, that's a good call, Paw. Like you can call me Ray or you can call me Jay. Like Rosenbergs, 1825, too late, but see, yo, gumbo. If I could call it that, tastes like Martha Stewart made it. No roots, no truth, shoot, no Snoop, no gin and juice, just gentrification juice. Laid back with your mind on your money and your money on your mind. I say your gumbo tastes like Diet Delta, like Louisiana Lights, like Foley Statuaries, like Zeta ran to the bathroom, yeah, that way. But see, my gumbo tastes like it's all gravy, baby. Like some kicking chicken in a bag of fries from We Never Closed. Like my mama bread pudding with rum sauce and raisins. Digging in the Cajun andouille accent. Like Morgan's, it's magnificent. I say my gumbo tastes like I went round the Conda to the stove and made groceries, yeah. Got me some camellia beans, some mahama rice, and a Ubix pie with a pineapple big shot. But see, yo, faux gumbo mo tastes like Ninth Ward watermarks. Like Lego levees and Bayou betrayals. Like George Bush don't care about black people. Like Barbara Bush is, oh, well, they must be better off after Katrina. Mockery. I say your gumbo tastes like the crew of Monopoly came and cut the city up like a profit pie and didn't give the people a single slice. But see, my gumbo will make you say, and then nah, you heard me? I say my gumbo tastes like uptown and downtown, like front of town and back of town, like a West Bank thing, like 4 + 5, and what do you get? You get a night war nigga running in your shit. You see, my gumbo tastes like the villains be the heroes, like the soldiers be the celebrants, like the hard heads got the warmest hearts. My gumbo tastes like home, or as my poets say, it tastes like some mo. Mo, thank y'all, I appreciate you. Give it up for the Eddie Anderson Project, y'all.
You know, you've always opened your home, opened your heart, opened your mind, helped us open our minds into something new. And so thank you very much for just being such a giver and a humble, generous wealth of all that you have shared with us. There's no words that can really describe who you are and who you are to us and who you are to me.
I don't know what to say. It's very moving being here with everybody. And Zoma, whom I've known for a long time, when she would come over to class at the house, 1468 Chapin Street, she would bring us a little small bundle And there were a couple of others. They put blankets down on the floor, put the kids down, and go up and hit the computers with Michael. I'm going to start off with something that, as I was thinking about the opportunity to do this, was going to be the last thing I read, but I think being the occasion, let me start off with it first, because this space is something I think that this poem talks about. I know that Harley was one of these people. Juliet is and has been and continues to be. And I know that the man I shared my life with the last 30-some years definitely was. It's called Pathfinders. And I wrote this when Michael was invited to exhibit at Enfleur Gallery over in Anacostia. I'm sure everybody knows where that is. Pathfinders, those who seek to find the way, making a way out of no way. Those who take the first steps on a path that others may walk it. Those who seek the means, pathways to knowledge and situation and solutions. Pathways to knowledge and solutions. Those who find pathways to windows of history and being. Those who seek to explore the meanings of patterns transfixed in memory, in transfiguring action. Those who fly with grace. What happens when you've got a lot of stuff and your printer doesn't work, and you don't know how to work the printer, and so you hope to find something that you want us to read. This is something I did a number of years ago when asked to be in a show that was about human trafficking. And I'd gotten sick, so I never had a chance to read it myself. I don't know how I'm going to respond to it at this point, but it is something that I wanted to share with friends. Seized and sold, snatched, stolen, and held. All the daily routines of life ravaged in the fire. And when you close your eyes, do you still see the sky? That you did not run away fast enough, or hide away deep enough, or breathe quietly enough, or be still enough in the shadows is not your fault. That you did not render yourself invisible enough, transparent enough, chameleon enough, is rather a matter of circumstance. The waiting, the walking, the being transported, the sounds and the silences, in small groups, hummingbird bringing sleights of hand, imperceptibly creating tentative friendships, possible alliances, fragile as dry leaves underfoot. Do you still see the sky? New lives mapped on irregular routes, following trajectories of flight and fear along market roads known, unknown, and changing. Escape is not impossible, so they say. There are no touchstones for us. Along the way, we make our own. We walk blinded, carrying our shrouds of invisibility. We see and hear beyond belief. One step, and then another. One ride, then another. One stopping over place, then another. One encampment, then another. One life, and then another. And still we see the sky. The young grow old, act by act. Memories of younger years and used to be. Unripe fruits fall into ground. We are forevermore only fragments and fictions of those our other selves, dwelling in these uneasy spaces between fear and living fully, confronting the insurmountable at the crossroads of each day. We wait, and we do still see the sky. The air is fresh, the air is cool, and all blood does disappear into the earth. The stains subsumed in living. Children dream of birds flying through red skies and wake to blood. They dream dreams of blood and laughter lost, memories soul-wrenching and bittersweet. The children could not remember their forgotten selves, learning not even to try. We who do not wake to the sounds of the scarring of souls or to the moaning of mutilated dreams, we do know of this violence. The most tender parts of youth, body, mind, and dreaming, forever bruised. The malignant intent, destruction of self, defamation of souls for gain. We do know. And what then do we do? When we listen, we hear the thunder of your silent cries. We feel the rage of your unshed tears. Your stories, consenting to be shared. Your strength, your will, your nightmares become our own. In the stillness of recollection, remembering offerings of compassion and hope. Each day, imperfectly reclaiming time until the years become imperfectly your own. Understanding that since you could not resist fiercely enough, or run away fast enough, or hide deep enough, or breathe quietly enough, or keep still enough in the darkness, it is not your fault. That you could not render yourself invisible enough, transparent enough, or chameleon enough is rather a matter of circumstance. And in the morning, sometimes comes a soft rain, softly falling. This is when maybe the band can hear what I'm saying and see what you have to do. She was 92 years old and 7 months when she decided to sleep naked. The first time was when she dreamt about an old friend. It could have been lover, but wasn't. Just that he was sick, poor fellow, so nothing ever happened. Nothing was really possible, you know. Meditation on that which had been done and that which had been left undone. It was the first night of the full moon, and the moon bathed her in whispers and silvery breezes, and faint noises of flowers opening. Mother of pearl poppies on her café au lait with a touch of cinnamon salt. Her hair on the pillow was moon glow, and her moon sign beauty marks were suns in that deep night, which was her first night of sleeping naked, delighting in it until dawn came, tremulous and delicate, almost timid, and that was the first time. She gave herself over to the silence of the woods at night and to the faint starlight, joining laughing wild women, become with them dark trees, dancing wildly, temptresses for the instant. He was sick, you know, so it couldn't be, but really I liked that fellow so much, so very, very much. Moonlight, blessed blessing. Now she divines the time of day by where sunlight falls on her legs. And the dove's murmurings come, interrupting dawn, announcing the new day. This is a poem that in the last exhibit that Michael and I had occasion to do together at American University was a poem that started out being the name of the show that he had come up with when he first talked about it. And it was called When We Dance, because after 2 trips to Australia, he began doing lots of dancers and those kind of movements. So the name of the show changed, but the poem stayed and developed. And so I'd like the band's help on this one too. I just got new glasses and my eyes are, my eyes and the glasses, we're trying to adjust to each other. Okay. When we dance, it began in a beginning, anchored in the deep light of before dawn. It picked threads and wove them through the morning and into the afternoon, gathering them together when the sun cast long shadows on ground red as rust and blood. When the purple night filled with star lines and star stories that sang and danced, slowly consumed the clouds and turned to fire, until another beginning began, anchored in the deep light of before dawn, in the place that is your place, in the place that was your place, in the place that is you. When we dance, we soar, we plummet, we plunge, we become. Arms and hands moving in the manner of guardian creatures. Totems, conjuring strength and wisdom, running through bloodlines and song lines, outstretched in welcome and protection. First had anointed us. We stepped onto their island sand. But how will we know? We from other worlds. When we dance, our bodies are not our own. They are vessels of time. They are ancestors of future generations. Become the high notes, become the bass line in our present song. We leap higher than all the unimagined tomorrows. Bodies taut and eager from the depths of dreaming is our other selves. Crazy sunset and unsettling moon. Rains fall, streaming, droplets and mists of ceremony and ritual. Whispering in the night. The thunder beneath our feet, air to dust. Stories, they fill our eyes so they see only the dreamings. Our stories become moonlight shimmering on dark water, and the earth swallows a star. When we dance, stones become songs, and the crocodiles sway with us as we stand against the sea winds, and the living join spirits with those who do not name. When we dance, we root ourselves in the ground. Our souls grow still with the rhythms of water, wind, and earth. Bodies flowing, flames into the air when we dance. Dancing with clouds, unfettered. Clouds come down from the skies. Hear the music when we dance. Unfettered, we leap on the tall fences, adorned with razor wire, and fly away on rhythms of high winds, percussing rooftops of corrugated steel and porches, places of memory, places of story. When we dance, we forget and we remember. We dance on sacred ground. We circle the moon, having learned the secret of waterfalls, rivers, ridges, shores, sand, and city streets, monuments of metal and glass, constructs of wood and stone in slivers of afternoon, refracting with their energy. All sacred ground, carry the blood of my people, carry the weight of their bones, carrying our dreaming. When we dance, When we dance. And this one, walking around in Australian cities, the longer you walk around, as with any place, you'll see more folks of color. You see more black folks, see more African folks, more people who don't look like they came directly from the white European model that you have of Australia, particularly. And things are getting a little better, but a lot still remains to be done. So we had occasion to go twice to Australia. And the second time we stayed in the neighborhood that we had been already, so we kind of knew our way around a little bit, and that was when we really noticed these encounters that we would have. So this is one about them, about that experience. The parallels resonate deeply beneath the skin, drum beats and didgeridoos, sounds of great open spaces, deserts and horizonless seas, crossing glances and inquiring looks, understanding history and memory with eyes and smiles. We know, you know. We have passed this way before. We will survive. And this last one is Florida Avenue, as probably everybody here knows, used to be called Boundary Street. And it turns out that most cities, particularly in parts of the world that were colonized, have Boundary Street. And that was where we were not supposed to be. That's why Howard is where it is, up on the hill and not closer in. This was the hotel that we stayed at, which was very pleasant, but the first street that we came to when we walked out was Boundary Street. And so one of the folks when we met told us about that. No stranger to boundary streets. We stand before the house on this land of deep wounds where echoes gather and sometimes nightmares. Eyes closed, the better to remember your long gone faces. We are come to witness for a laying on of hands and visitation. Thank you very much.
Can we please get another round of applause for our feature poet for tonight, our feature artist for tonight. This is her work on the wall here next to her husband, Mr. Michael Platt. So I am so glad that we had an opportunity to celebrate you this evening, and thank you. Thank you for joining us and blessing us with your words. Are you guys ready for some more poetry? We've got 2 more poets before we close out the evening. And ahead of time, before we close out the evening, Mrs. Madison, I don't want to put you on the spot. So if you have something you want to say at the very end, just it doesn't have to be long, but I'm gonna give you some time to think about it. I didn't want to just hey. But we would love to hear even if you just want to say hello. We would love that energy from you. So, with no further ado, we are going to move to our next poet. Welcome, Ashli Wilson.
All right, I am so honored to be here in the space. I was invited by my lovely friend and Spelman sister, Zoma. You are a force, Zoma, and I've been so privileged to grow into a woman alongside you, so thank you. My first poem is actually a letter to my grandmother. I lost her in January of this year actually, due to complications with COVID. And so thinking about We Belong Here, thinking about an intergenerational experience really hit home for me in terms of my experiences this year, my experiences as a creative, as I learned to be creative and walk in my craft from my grandmother. So I called my grandmother Ladybug, and this is called Dear Ladybug. Dear Ladybug, I miss you so much. I hope that you enjoyed my poem at your funeral. I wanted to write about Ladybug love because so many people remarked about your kindness and love. I wanted to charge people not only to reflect on how special you were, but to also be special in the lives of others. You were so gentle, sweet, and kind that hearing others speak about you made my eyes well up. I was emotional because I walked in the light together with you. Walking in the light entails boundless optimism and knowing that we'll be okay even when we don't feel it right now. We stand on faith like cornerstones, rooted in faith with unshakable positivity. I have been paying attention to sunrises and sunsets more lately, reminded of light and transition. I'm reminded that the sun transitions daily and greets us each morning. I know that you, just like the sun, have transitioned, but your light remains. Creatives never die. They just transition to better while we hold on to their creativity and light. You always spoke so highly of how I love on my family. The night before you transitioned, we made family vision boards and shared them with each other, privately casting a vision as a family and individuals. I was proud of us. I thought of you and slept so poorly that night. It was so beautiful that I received a call about your death the next morning because it was as if I needed to set the vision to carry it out no matter what. I will manifest all that's on my board and more despite not having my fellow light walker by my side. Thank you for communicating with me through transitions and nature. I will love you forever. Thank you. And this piece I created just after, emailing and thinking about the story of it and thinking about this idea of we have been here, we belong here, taking up space. The name of it is Taking Up Space. Take up space, loudly, vibrantly, intentionally. Make it known that we are here. Move rhythmically and sing joyfully. Share our story, our glory, and flight. Occupy unapologetically. Create memories, reflect, dream big, and create. Round eyes, wide smiles, and brilliant brown skin, flaunt it in our spaces. Leave the fragrant incense of our foremothers. Honor their memory through your big, bold, and beautiful presence. Offer correction and restoration despite confusion. Unleash your uniqueness. Take up space. I did kind of like a free write about summertime. Each of my summers I spent in Virginia visiting my grandparents and just connecting with nature and just had a great time. So this is just a free write that was called My Grandparents' House. Grandparents' house, hot, sticky summers and fresh fruit, tasting the world and tasting a rainbow with no limits. Happiness feels like curated love made just for me and enveloping my entire being. I'm surrounded by constant encouragement and affirmation, an ancestral hymn in the key of me. And lastly, this was also a free write. Actually, my friend that produced this shirt had a series of writing workshops this year. And so it was just really awesome to have space to connect with other Black women, to have space to write and just reflect on this whole experience of being in lockdown and then experiencing loss related to COVID. So this was about, you can't put a thing in a clenched fist. You can't put a thing in a clenched fist. You can't close yourself off because of the past. Hold a tight grip while trying to control. You have to be open and vulnerable, ready to cope with whatever comes your way. It may not manifest the way that you tried to force. It will still be beautiful. Thank you.
How y'all doing? Feeling good? We still rocking out? I thought I was just like, I'm just gonna come and gig and do my poem, and you know, I didn't expect the energy to be what it is in here, and so much beautiful artwork and so many things that are a confirmation that there is no error, there is no coincidence, no mistakes. So I'm looking at these pieces and I'm moved. I feel like I got a poem about that. And I'm looking at this piece, and I remember I used to work at a museum in Atlanta, and it was a statue of Akhenaten, and I thought that was Akhenaten, but I think that's Khafre. And it was a statue of him, and I just looked at it, I'm like, whoa, this looks like Amari Stoudemire, you know? And it just like a confirmation and alignment that I was always here, because just that imagery is sort of captured in that picture. And then when you did your piece about your grandmother, Ladybug, like, that's literally my grandmother. When she comes to me, she comes as Ladybug. So I was just like, oh, grandma, yay. There's so much confirmation, so I'm just glad to be here. It's amazing. So I didn't know if I was gonna do this piece, but now I guess I have to do it. They left me righteous. They left Christ in crisis, revealed my vices, my sins unforgiven, the burden of living with knowing. So I can't keep hidden. It's like my private parts are showing like dark rifts where galaxies drifts in the black holes. My constellations exposed. I speak consolation in prose and wear them like clothes. They left me righteous. They left me to define my divineness, to rename Isis, to paint her in my likeness. But I deflect and mic this. These verbal technologies swallow me in a force field like an aura. Lost like a Christian in a Surah. Or a Muslim in a Torah. Introspect got me trapped like agoraphobia. In between the space of Siobhan and Gloria. They left me righteous. Left hand Molotov cocktail ignited. Right hand ready to strike with because Gil Scott is dying. The revolution never televised nor incited. On some close but not quite shit. No plan, no action, no blueprint, no Titans, no Conrad, no 300, no King Leonidas, no Marcus, no Phalan, no Huey to fight with, no PE, no daylight, no clock to recite. It's just me, left alone and righteous. Said it's just me, left alone and righteous. Said it's just me, said it's just me, it's just me, left alone and righteous. Malcolm told me, this is a true story. Malcolm told me in a dream, you have the tools, now apply this, let knowledge be your muse and courage be your alliance. No one left you, that's a roost, they were lampposts for your guidance. Serve their purpose, shaping your views, new perspectives they provided. All the while I'm training you, see 360, not one-sided. Mind expansion, you pursue the leaps and bounds, how you stride it personally, we all battling. They too must bid defiance with the frailties of the flesh, carbon compressed turns into diamonds, excavations yield you blessed. Mine in their minds, gems you kept finding, never righteous where you left, the left is right for your refinement, never righteous where you left, the left is right for your refinement. Never righteous where you left, the left is right for your refinement. They left you just right. They left you just right. Yeah. Just. Yep. I'm Glo Shines once again. That piece is actually online. I have a project it's called What the Water Gave. Also a tribute to art because it's based on some Frida Kahlo piece. So check that out if y'all get a chance. All right. Big ups to Drew for putting me on tonight. Free my body, retry my mind. Easily explain how we adapt to time. I said, free my body but trap my mind. Easily explain how we adapt to times that are a fraction of our present. That it defines how we scored Academy Awards. And the winner is Sambo's Return to Slavery, held favorably by the eyes of the majority. So we applaud a shackled individual, a Negro spiritual, rocking and swaying and more of the same, and the Hattie McDaniel, the L. Jackson Samuel, the Help, and the Butler C. Hollywood pluck our finest thespians and passive diminutive, reduced to servitude. This is since the move from when pictures first moved, the birth of a nation 100 years later. I think I saw it up there earlier. Same attitude, no altitude, accolades given for portrayals of submission for footstool positions, below heads and slumped shoulders. Mold us, scoliosis us, curved vertebrae helps they convey celebrity, but still I say what is the need to plant the same seed in minds of generations, ignore variety, to tell the one story and mute the many. Few movies of kings and queens, but plenty of depictions of captives, of victims, of slave conditions. You see, slavery misuses the nomenclature. Blacks are not Slavic, can't be slaves by nature. You ask for a slave, you know what they gave you? A role, a sidekick. We accept out of habit. Jamie is Django, but he's just as fit to play Hannibal. Morris General, not the serial killer criminal. Do you peek the subliminal? Shots at your spiritual, attack from every angle, left mangled, voices strangled, closed, no caption, no crowd reaction, silent. Cutting room floor, filled with real, surreal, of the real, not revealed, because they scared of it. So it's imperative that we change the narrative, and it goes like this, and here's my pitch. I will spike love. In a world where the spectrum of black culture is ignored, and cinema forgotten and never fully explored, the chore to create and create more is in our fist, so picture this. We not savages, but lavish with high sciences, astronomers and botanists, chemists, archaeologists, a biopic of Imhotep, doctor, scribe, and architect. And Maraway and Monty Rangers led her queendom against Rome. As a queen, she fought in battle, one eye short when she came home. Banneker, he was Dogon, expertise, astronomy, they mapped the galaxy. Sirius star system A and B, created with the almanac, surveyed the city of BC. Four Marines were black Irish infamous, conquered BC, with bloodlines of Kushite kings, history, mythology. Labeled as giants, non-compliant, predate the Celtic pantheon. Before the myth of leprechauns were ancient Ethiopians. From the land of Babakida, aka the Queen of Sheba, she was. Beauty were renowned to have her as his wisdom Solomon striving me down. So he didn't understand what she denied when he demanded climb his hands and took her stand and joined their lands, not in her plans. Ego grew Solomon, trickery, plant the seed. The result was mentally. Haley, job bless, I don't connect, the man come up the trilogy. These are blockbusters to be bottom tickets, filled with seats, show potential two babies, move the shadow, add the crowd, cast the shadow, not a snap. I rebuke thee in the unspoken name of my ancestors, whose solar legacy has been violated by transgressors. From them my destiny and make it known, be the professor. With my grills. Y'all in here, I heard y'all tonight. Tell their story, scribes, grab your pens, write your best antagonist, climax and expositions. Tell the tragedy, the comedy, the drama, show black excellence for all genres, beyond the samba minutia, that there's no excuse for us. We want to see more. Nah, we want to see more. And follow what they produce, and then we leaving them sore. Be the last black buck that they ever abused. Be the last face painted with polish from shoes. The hue is wrinkled, black like Don Cheadle, screaming power to the people. See, that's beautifully correct. See, that shoulders back, intellect. See, that's rhythmic, dialect. That's into right. Find your center, that stage is left. That is the only version of the story that we will accept is the one with our names and the credits. The end. Peace out. All right, one more piece. I'm going to do it. I know I'm long-winded. Pardon me. Thank y'all again. All right, so this piece, let's see how I can introduce this piece. And I might need y'all help band on this one. Yeah. Some little up-tempo jazzy, I'll let you know. You can jump in. I got Morris. But for this piece, my brother transitioned a few years ago. And like the last conversation I had with him, he called and he was like, you know, he was raising his daughter on his own, single father. And he called and he was like, oh, my baby girl, she she not feeling beautiful. You know, she's concerned and she's about her skin complexion. You know, she's not happy with being a young dark-skinned girl. So I was like, okay. He knew to call me, so I'm gonna have some words to her about loving your black self, you know. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out what to say, you know. And I didn't get to write the words before he transitioned, but I did write the words for her. And today is my brother's birthday. So once again, everything in alignment. So I'm just gonna start. You know, you can be very peeled back, very, you know, simple and sort of low, because I'm, you know, I'm gonna try to hear me too. All right. Yeah. Let's see. Light-skinned wishes, dark-skinned nightmares, straight-haired dreams and nappy fears. See, we're not from the standard, it appears. Yeah. Dirt brown eyes, contacts, grass green. When paperback skin is accepting, young ones measuring their self-esteem. Ain't it a shame? I think so. When thin lips sip what full ones slurp. Are you a Negro bedwitch or red bone flirt? Just looking for a way to stop the hurt. I say, keep your melanin brew inside of you, and carbon producing all other hues, all of the hues, 'cause they come from you, and my darling, you are the muse. My darling, you are the muse. Media, they are guilty of spreading negativity. Yeah, complexion, complex veil, civility. And they can't see past Claire's Brownstone, Florida's projects, right? It's Carrie Classic and Viola's Ratchet. And Viv exiled for fairer replacement. Y'all remember Dark Skin and Viv? I do. Narrow bridges, nostrils wide, Euro features, synthesized, just a pretty to be black girl, traumatized because of lies. Them lies they told us, keep your melanin brew and the inside of you, and the carbon producing all other you, all of the hues, 'cause they come from you, and that's you, my darling, you are the muse. I want to be Billie Holiday so bad. See? You are the muse. Hey. So they was demonized because of flesh, then they stigmatized. What is ethnic? When they glamorize the part and not the whole. Nice lips, right? I know. Beautiful, elegant, image of omnipotent, so prize the dynasty will never fold, never fold. So outsiders, they want to test, causing damage to the crest. Divide and conquer, vital to their goal. That's the plan. We're not gonna fall for it though. Naturally, you are divine, so handsome, ravishing of mind, jewel of humanity. You are black gold. You and you and you, all of us. So keep going. Your melanin brew and inside of you, and the carbon producing all of the hues, all of the hues, 'cause they come from you, and my darling, you are the muse. My darling, you are the muse. Keep your melanin brew and inside of you, and you speak it fluent, and it's beautiful, so beautiful. Young queen, you rule, and know that the blue imprint is you. All right, just the drums. Give me a harder beat drum. See, I'ma stay that queen, stay that supreme, Asiatic, charismatic, fabric fashion to be drastic. From the school of that boom action, Brooklyn born, Virginia crafted, but the shines into galactic like triple stages of blackness. No beginning and no end, 2 X's, the melanin, mysterious, they wondering. I spit bars and feminine, predestined. See me balance lyrically, some of them challenge. Oh, you mad cause I'm styling on you, kicking that profound shit on you. I'ma say that chromosomes never holding me back. Carry the torch, master the sport, elevate every track. Veteran you never knew, but I'm not counting the stats. Better than the revenue, the audience. Action to my passion when I spit that cinematic. They say that I'm the baddest in my rhymes created habit. My shit is my beat off the verbiage that I speak. See, rappers is LD, but see, I'm a prodigy and I got melanin proof and inside of you. Okay, I want the audience to see if y'all melanin brewing. So all I want y'all to just say is, when I say melanin brewing, I just say melanin, and y'all say melanin inside of you. Again, melanin, it's thinking blue, melanin, it's beautiful. You going melanin, embrace you rule the melanin. Know that's the blue. Yeah, oh, I feel it. It's bubbling now. It's bubbling, yeah. If it's ruined, just say it. Your melanin fruit, just say melanin. Inside of you, just feel the melanin. It's blue, and it's beautiful, so beautiful. Young king, you rule, and you know that the blue, it is you, and you, and you, and you, and me. Peace.
Miss Madison, would you like to come up and say any words before we close this evening? We would love to have you. Please welcome up Juliet Madison.
I have one thing to say. I was always here. Always here. Not really, but since 1986, I think we started this place. Anyway, this was wonderful, just groovy energy. I mean, man, it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. Yes, absolutely groovy. And thank you to Zsudayka and whoever else put this together with you. It's just a beautiful use of this space. I mean, the spirits are in here. The sister said tomorrow was her brother's birthday. And it occurred to me, it hit me that tomorrow is Harley Little's birthday. Oh, wow. And so, you know, I'm just feeling everybody in here. It's just been wonderful, and I appreciate y'all allowing me to share this space with you and this time. Thank you.
All right, I want to give a final thank you to all of our poets this evening, Mr. Daniel Brookings, Ms. Khadijah Moon, Mr. Drew Anderson, Professor Carol Beane, Ms. Ashli Wilson, and Ms. Glo Shines. Thank you all for blessing us with their energy this evening. Please make sure you stay connected with us and stay to check out the film, please.